All right, go to work, go to work. Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. Just wanted to share that I thank you. Appreciate you joining in. Absolutely.
We invite you to something epic, you know?
Go to work.
We hustle out of a sense of
Like they say, yeah. Put your cell phone. Go to work. Research. Study yourself approved. Get to working.
What we feel, we have nothing to lose. So we offer you, well, we offer our lives.
Absolutely.
What do you bring to the table? One watching every nigga watching.
Go to work. How are you? How you doing, Reverend Shaw?
All right.
That's great. Absolutely.
I'll be right back with you.
Okay, no worries. Go to work. It's recording.
All right.
All right. Absolutely. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. We have a serious situation because we know that there are a lot of people that take education for granted and voting rights for granted for some reason. And so we have to work on our voting responsibilities as well. So I'm going to share my screen here with you all and go here to a presentation here. I'm going to take you a step at a time. All right. So welcome to Focus on Black America. And I want to keep this open so I can see. I need to admit some more people right here to stop. Note that welcome to Focus on Black America. I do have a PSA here on Final Cut Pro X. So just in case there's some people that want to learn how to do Final Cut Pro X, this is just real quick. I'm gonna play the PSA, of course, first, and then I'll walk you through it. Welcome to a Focus on Black America. PSA, we need to go to work. This segment is about increasing education and voting rights. With that in mind, let's set big goals. Let's invest in our children, families, and communities. Let's plan purposefully with sound results, with growth mindsets. Let's continue to increase effectively, and let's move, as we say, work relentlessly toward accomplishing our goals. Absolutely. So with that in mind, you see that it would be a blank storyboard, just so that way we can get more background. Most of the time you don't see a commercial, how it's made and so forth. So this is a picture that I simply created on canva.com. And then what I did, I used this arrow here to import the picture from my desktop. Okay. And then after I imported the information, the picture from the desktop, which it says import all right here, but I just selected one as I would right here, and then import there. Once I imported it, then you just click the X here, and then it will be here in this area. So you would go ahead and select the picture from in this area, and then you put it down here on your storyboard, which I did, and then you can move this here easily. Wherever your marker is here, that's where it will stop. And then I use this application here, which we call Spreaker.com. So you see a new recording here. You can label it after you export it. For example, after you record yourself, let me take you a step back. Absolutely. Go to work. Here, you have the option to record. So you record and you can start, and then preferably offline since you're preparing to do a video, a movie video. And so as you're watching yourself and your vocal levels here, obviously I can go a little bit higher because we just listened to the sound there. And you can move both left and right here. And after you're done with whether you wanted to put sound effects in it or what have you, you could. So we're gonna stop recording now, but just know that that's how you record. It's just that easy. And then you export. When you export the file, you can rename it. Maybe we can rename it practice. Absolutely. and then it goes to your dashboard, your desktop. And after it's on your desktop, then you are able to upload it, import it, shall we say. Again, you go here for import, and just like you see practice, we've labeled it practice, then you import what we just selected. All right, with that in mind, then you will have it access to it here in this area. I labeled the one this morning PSA, that's why you see it entitled PSA there. And then I cut and paste it. Actually, I didn't cut and paste, I just cut. So I use this arrow here and use this blade to cut where there was a break in there. Actually, I could have took out a little bit more air. Right here where you see it is nothing but maybe a hum here. And I could have moved that over just a little bit. And you can always do that here, like I can do that right now, but it may go over too far, so I have to initially go back and cut it where I want to cut it, or put the skimmer here. You click here, and then you use this trim. I call it a skimmer, but you can use one of these and then you go to work with that. So not to prolong so much time, but that's how I got the audio here. And then I went here to the sound, and then that's when I typed in the song by Stan the Guitar Man, which is an instrumental that he allowed me to use. And then I clicked on it here, and then I just dragged it to the timeline and to where I want to start. And here, I was just using that as an example. And then I went here to use the fade. I clicked on it so I can fade it down. So that way when it ended, it just didn't end abruptly. It just faded down. And then when you do a movie, you want to make sure, or video, you want to make sure that the picture, there is a picture, because if it's a video at the end, then it'll look black when you upload it to social media. So with that in mind, okay, let me see if somebody, okay, go work. Go to work. That's smart. You text me, let me know that you need to get back in. Go to work. Thank you. I noticed when you do the screen, you turn the screen around, not able to see people wanting to be admitted. So that's why it's really neat to have another person to be a host when you do a Zoom, because then they will be able to watch the people that's looking to get back in. Absolutely. All right. With that in mind, I was just sharing. How you doing, Reverend Shaw?
I'm here. I'm here. I don't know if you can see me well or not, but
I can see you. Absolutely. I'm sharing my screen right now. You look great. I just share my screen to share with people how to do a commercial really quick, because it's not often that some people share how these commercials are developed. So I was just sharing with them how to import the picture, the voice, and the music, and where I retrieve the information from to make this PSA. So now that you're here, I'm gonna play this little 44-second PSA so you can get the gist. All right.
Okay. All righty.
Welcome to a Focus on Black America. PSA, we need to go to work. This segment is about increasing education and voting rights. With that in mind, let's set big goals. Let's invest in our children, families, and communities. Let's plan purposefully, with sound results, with growth mindsets. Let's continue to increase effectively, and let's move, as we say, work relentlessly toward accomplishing our goals. All right. Okay, so that was it. That was it. So pretty neat. So you come on one of these workshops with me, then you're gonna get some more information. So I'm not just gonna show you a slide or PowerPoint. You're gonna get the background so you could do it on your own in the future. So this one is technically a work in progress. Absolutely. So with that in mind, I'm gonna share my screen again and share with you that I do have a presentation here. So I'm gonna take you slide by slide, but would you please introduce yourself? Absolutely.
Well, I'm Reverend Frederick Shaw. I am the Executive Director, First Vice President for the Inglewood South Bay NAACP. I'm also the international spokesperson for the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which is a watchdog group that exposes psychiatric abuses. And there's a litany of things, being an author and a whole group of categories that I'm involved in. But I'm really happy to be part of another one of your broadcasts, and thank you for having me in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So yeah, just with the same topics of education and voting rights, if you will, I'd be honored for you to share information that you would like for people to know from your standpoint and wisdom and experiences. Absolutely.
Well, dealing with voting rights, I just want the audience to understand that during this time, no matter which side you're on, and I ask you to investigate both sides of the issue, don't just listen to the media because they can be very biased in their approach. Don't just be loyal to a party. We must be loyal to our people, and we must push toward progress. So, you know, the idea that we must be of one party or the other party, and the separate and divide that goes on even in our own community, the idea that we have to stay with a group and don't broker our vote like so many other communities do. We need to take advantage of the voting rights. We are people who have died for the right for many people to vote, so we must participate in the process, even if we don't believe necessarily in the people in the process. As far as education, in my opinion, there's nothing more important than the people than education. People perish for lack of knowledge. When I say educate, I'm not talking about learning the words that were taught to us so that we can recite them. I'm talking about knowing subjects to the point we can debate them. And, you know, when we go in, sometime college, because of the inferior schools that we come out of, is so difficult on us that once we graduate, we're so happy about that, and we latch on to everything we've been taught in that system without investigating the effectiveness of that system. So we must come with a different level of what education means. It is not being taught so you can go work for somebody. You're supposed to be educated to the point that you go out and create jobs for other people. And so when the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, it is just changing the paradigm and looking at things in a different way so that we can capitalize on those things in the best interest of our people.
Absolutely. Go to work. And with that in mind, I just like to share with you, thank you again for attending. At the same time, I know that this is probably one of the most monumental, this wasn't our interview, this is not our show, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be so impactful to so many people once we share it. And I want to tell you, thank you for being a part of it, because this is something extraordinary that they're not going to be prepared for. So with that in mind, I'm going to share with you this presentation. As we know that at different times, some people aren't expecting certain people to do certain things because they have stereotyped them, right? So with that in mind, it's a rare thing to know that a stand-up comedian would have 100 books accessible on Amazon.com. And like they say, and please share at any given time, stop me at any given time, but throughout this presentation. So know that when we look at comedians, some we know that they're very much so political advocates as well. And at the same time, we know that there's different vernacular that's used during comedy. But in every book I wanted to share, Michelle Farrell myself, there isn't any profanity in any of these hundreds of books. Okay, so it's 100 books to be exact. And it seems like there's more because some of them are definitely paperback and they're also Kindle. So some are pretty much free. If you have a Kindle account, it says $0.00. Who would do that? I know. Some of them are uploaded for $3, $5, just to get the point across it's not about the money, it's about the education. And then we have to get back to the basics that, yes, when you want people to know information, like they say, hide it in the book. But technically, we need to get back to when we didn't know how to read, and people wanted to teach us how to read, and we were scared to read. It was different seasons, different years, different centuries ago, and books are very important. The literature and information, the vocabulary is very imperative. And at this day and age, we need more people to develop critical thinking skills. And we were talking about that on another platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you want to add to about that critical thinking skills, especially as it connects to CCHR?
Well, the thing is this: we have to be able to assess and see things as they are instead of how people have told us they are.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's a big movement to defund the police or at least allocate or redirect the money that go to the police. And that is a step in the direction, but we don't question where the police got that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we never ask, is this racism that they're projecting upon us, or is it fear that they have of us? We never ask those type of questions. And when we talk about critical thinking, we have to be able to analyze what we see versus what we hear, and then translate that into what we do. So, you know, we believe everything is originating out of law enforcement, but then when people like you and me look at the information, we see this is deeply rooted into the mental health field or the psychiatric field, and being passed down as ideas that still exist and permeate society as we see it. So if you teach, as psychiatry and psychology does, that man is an animal, and then our founding forefathers said that we are 3/5 of a man, then we are lower level animals. So when we see police behave the way they do toward us, you know, you ask, where did that concept originate out of?
Mm-hmm.
So, and for us to make all of this go away, we have to deal with what is the real reason on why things occur. Law enforcement and all that is a byproduct of something systemically sitting there in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We can blame law enforcement if we want to, but if we blame law enforcement, we got to blame the DA's office. We can sing holding hands with mayors, but since those mayors are over the chiefs of police who we attack, why are we holding hands with the boss of the man we attacking? So when we talk about critical thinking, the way I look at it, it is a way of processing things so that we can see what is actually true. And then we can respond on what is true.
Go to work. Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Go in the paint. Absolutely. And I'm speaking from education profession for 21 years. As people may say, you know, well, comedians don't take things serious and so forth. And well, I'm not just a comedian, I'm also an educator, and I'm not a 5-year burnout educator also. I'm 21 years in. So just to know that I know that I can help so many generations to come, and we need to start right now. And like they say, every 8 years is pretty much like a new generation. So I wanted to share with people that I do have I'm starting springboarding a book club for children. So with that in mind, this is the purpose. So just 3 things: read to develop critical thinking skills, increase vocabulary, research to make changes. And that's instrumental. Now, with that in mind, also I'd love for people to take the time and remember NAACP. And I wasn't sure if you was going to be able to get on, but I had this already, as you see on the slide. Absolutely. So definitely would love for you to speak on the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And right after I share what is written here, the mission of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons, and to eliminate race-based discrimination initially. And this is what's historically about the NAACP, and some people, they forget what it stands for, so that's why I wanted to make sure I wrote it out there. Also,
Well,
yes.
Well, I thank you for that. And I want to reemphasize that in Inglewood, California, we have an NAACP. You are a member of it. And we have to take that which has historically benefited us and then translate it into modern times in a more new, effective way. The only way that happens is if new blood comes in with bright, fresh, new ideas that we can now push out into society. The people, I'll be 65 years old in a couple of weeks. My day pretty much as the face of things is winding down. What we're looking for is the young people who are willing to step up and then put it back on its course. Because if you talk to most people, they say, what is the NAACP doing? They selling us out. Well, when they really pretty much, I saw recently they were marching and stuff like that. But for the most part, they went into the legislative end of things and tried to handle it through the political arena. But at the same time, you cannot lose your activism that will actually force people to want to deal with you on the political side. And you see that what's going on with Black Lives Matter. You know, no matter what you think of it, the people in the streets, it's not all the organization itself that's doing it. It's also a rise in consciousness in white America, especially among the children. So the children have to step up and bring their ideas to the table. And then the older ones like myself and you and others, well, you're not as old, but myself, you and others, we must be able to say to these young people, you know, come on aboard. You know, I got a spot right here. Get ready for my spot. You know what I'm saying? You can put me on an advisory board in the future and stuff so I can be in your ear telling you what we went through and how to avoid certain potholes. But the days of me running the race is over. So, you know, most of us are just hanging in here until the young people realize they supposed to be here.
Right, it's your turn to step up to the plate. Absolutely. I have to reiterate that I was on another panel, but Mr. King Crooked, he was sharing that us DJs and bloggers need to step up to the plate and share what we need to roll out. And what rolling out technically means, in essence, educating other people about the legends or our wise people and information that they don't know about because they weren't there during that period of time. So if they get that information, that helps to equip them so that they can go out there and actually multiply what we need them to do to help the future. Because we've been talking about the children are the future for a very long time, but if we don't equip them with the information or help them with their zeal as activism, as a trait of a characteristic of a person that's very sincere about what they are wanting to do and what they want to help for not just themselves but the greater good, then that's our job. So we haven't been doing that as much. So that's what King Cricket's like. We all need to, because we all in the same couple decades, we need to step up our game.
And think how powerful it'd have been if we'd have had a Martin Luther King or even a healthy Muhammad Ali speak to Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
See, the young people know Kaepernick and the older people know Muhammad Ali.
Right.
And Muhammad Ali, and you got Jim Brown and Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and legendary football player Willie Davis and so many others. And this was done back in the day. This was done in the 60s and stuff. So, you know, the activism has always been there. If you read some of the writings of the old Black Panther members like Stokely Carmichael and Huey Newton, you'd be surprised at how advanced these guys were. But this is what young America forget or miss, is that those people were in college. The Huey Newtons, the Carmichaels, the Angela Davises, those people were in college. They were at Berkeley and different places like that. These weren't dumb people.
Right.
The only thing they did not know is that they were being infiltrated. And this is where a guy like me can pass on to the young people. And we even saw this. We even saw this in the recent protests where people are sent in to create the fires and do the things that they do, but then we get the blame. And if you notice in this particular protest, a lot of the young people were saying, don't do that. People will blame us for what you're doing. And they were challenging white people who were sent in to be destructive. So we're learning that, and if we knew that in the 60s, the game would have been different, that people are sent in to be more militant than us, to get the ear of the people. And then those people are sent in to destroy the movement, but by doing things like setting fires, breaking windows and things like that. I'm not even saying that at some point those acts aren't appropriate. I'm just saying that you come to the table with the idea of peace and you try to negotiate before you take it to the next step. Isn't that what we're supposed to do in government? We go to another country, we tell them how we're offended, we think that they threaten our way of life, and then when they don't respond to that, then we look up and we end up in war. Well, that's the same formula that we're supposed to use when we're out here trying to make a difference and change society. Absolutely. And so that's what we got to look at, you know?
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing your voice and reason and sound judgment. Absolutely. And I hope this resonates with many of you all that are watching, will watch and will share, because it's instrumental. Sometimes, you know, there is, you know, there's a time and place to turn up and time and place to just buckle down. And this is what we're doing right now. It's a wonderful digital dialogue, as I posted on the flyer, as well as we're going to focus on some more sound listening. Like I was sharing with some people, some people forget that when you listen, like I wrote down some notes since you've been talking. It's imperative. Some people, they're not into different things, but we have to reel them back in, because the people that are sharing about, when you want to hide anything, just put it in the book. We got to get out of that situation. And people talk about stay in your lane. Well, if they stay in the lane, they need to dig ditches. They need to till the ground. They need to turn it over. They need to grow on. They need to do more than just making it seem like it's so stagnated, and stop putting limitations on people. And I love the fact that you shared also, don't lose your activism. And then what we're seeing out there in the world right now is a rise in consciousness, and that we need to share more ideas. And some people that are saying, I don't want to share my ideas because somebody will take my ideas. But we actually have all these platforms for people to protect their ideas, but that's because they need to listen as well as read to learn these different avenues so they can protect their ideas. And if it's an idea that's going to help the world, what difference does it make that it belongs to you? People are going to benefit.
And I just want to reemphasize, I want people to look up the word killology or bulletproof mind. And then on our next conversation, I will talk more about that, because we've been finding some disturbing news about what may be behind this law enforcement. Don't forget that the medical model that justifies all this comes out of mental health. And so we need to tune in to truth and not follow the lead of people and be the victim of the same people who put us in this condition with their medical model and their false information on race, and then ask those same people to save us. And that's not the way we got to do this. But we'll talk about that more on the next one. And anybody that want to look up CCHRINT.org, please do so. And they can contact me through fshawjr@yahoo.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I took those notes to make sure that we do that on our next segment. Absolutely. Knowing that just reminds me, what we're sharing here, what we keep alluding to, is a GoDaWork radio show, and Reverend Shaw has a segment on the GoDaWork radio show. So I do have a platform where you can send in music and so forth. So it's GoDaWorkCenter@gmail.com. And sometimes I just do interviews, and other times I do music and mentions, honorable mentions as well. All right. So
thank you, my sister.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Go to work and let me know anytime, because I'm here to 2 o'clock today. So anytime you need to dip out, what have you, but I have a plethora of information that I'm just rolling out collectively because we're also, Bobby Buck and I have created a hub. So that hub is already created. So I just need to add more information to it. And then we're going to roll it out. So it'll be an excellent referral system. I'd love to have you on there as one of the
Anytime you need me,
everything. So the hub.
anytime you need me, you just call. If I'm available, I'm tuning in. I'm gonna be on the show. I'm gonna express the viewpoints. I just happen to be one of those people that have and know a lot about a lot of different subjects because of my walk of life and things like that, from the streets to law enforcement to political activism. So anytime you need me, and Bobby Buck, and he knows that too, you guys have me. So
Thank
take
you.
advantage of me while I'm here, while God is blessing me with breath, and I'm available to you.
Amen. Beautiful, because this is where it's at. It is here right now. Creativity of a genius, and it's geniuses all over the place. So when you read the book, because I have a series, it's 20 of these books, Creativity of a Genius, and they have different subjects. So just like you're saying, you're multi-talented, multi-dimensional, you can jump in anywhere. So it don't matter what show Bobby Buck and I come up with, I understand you can go. You understand? So I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Absolutely. So, and it's a rare thing. That's why I know it's oftentimes some people are really like taken aback because they don't know how to deal with me, because I can come from so many different angles and I have many strengths. So at the same time, hey, we need to absolutely encourage and inspire and motivate our children to do the same thing. They can be equipped. So sometimes they just need to point a finger. Okay, go listen over here. Go see Auntie Go to Work. Go check out Reverend Shaw. He's cool. Some people, like you told me once upon a time, when you hear the title Reverend, people start tensing up or folding their arms or becoming speculative or so forth. But one of the coolest reverends I know, you understand me? And like you said, it wasn't always a reverend. At the same time, you have all these different walks and you have all these different titles and experiences, So, and you a man first. You understand? Black man first. You was a child once upon a time. All those different things. I mean, you put it down at one time.
Well, yeah. And a lot of us did. And we need to bring those warriors back together so that we can address the issues that are affecting our Black family. And, one of the things I don't want is a lot of times we find our people dividing themselves. We don't want to all be a victim. And yeah, that's true. And we're still responsible for getting ourselves out of this mess because nobody else is going to get us out. But at the same time, we got to recognize, and we can't divide on the issue of who's right and wrong and who's against us and who's for us. We got to first be for us. And so when you hear a lot of these people come on TV and they bashing Black people and George Floyd wasn't no martyr and he wasn't no hero. Yeah, the Black community hasn't said that. It was just such a violent murder that he became the symbol. But we're not walking around here putting symbols that people have been in prison and do porno and all that. That's not our heroes. It's the symbol of what we've been talking about as a people, right, and what we've been going through as a race.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let them know. And with that in mind, you can always join the NAACP as well. And if you don't know, it shares here in this. We have different platforms and different reasons for what we post at different times, but I did want to share this here. It says that our vote, our voice. Some people have an issue with voting for some reason, but also on the flyer I share, we're going to talk about voting responsibilities as well. So it says here, we need to mobilize millions to ensure the highest turnout ever. And I just want to share that even in schools that we teach children how to vote and the importance of voting, and we make sure that it is not favoritism, even when you hear about a class president, class vice president, and so forth. The children actually nominate and they actually vote upon their fellow classmates for those class positions, even in school. So this here says, we know that if people of color and specifically Black voters participated in elections at the same rate as white voters have, we would have a progressive majority. Black voters are skeptical of the political establishment, unhappy with candidate choices, frustrated with structural and institutional racism, slow job growth, no wage growth, the rising cost of healthcare, the rising cost of college, and the rising cost of housing, and disturbed about police violence. We can address many of these issues by electing the right individuals and passing the right legislation. And it says here also election protection. To report a problem, we're just in to report a problem on election day, please visit, and it's here in a little darker blue, but you can also call this number here, and this is located, I just retrieved this information off of the internet. So by all means, that's a resource. So whether you want to vote, whether you're a voter or you don't understand the impact of voting, I just want to share, even from a young age in the schools, at least the ones I've been teaching, the students I've been teaching, they have actually experienced the whole voting process. Wherever those children are to this day, they have experienced it thoroughly. Outside of that, a reason why someone hasn't voted is up to the person. And now that they've changed, we want to change the attitude about voting, because we definitely want to get past, oh, well, that's your president, and so forth. We got to get past that. We have to be a part of masses. There's some people that's kicking back and just looking like, well, it's a fallacy, and they do this, and everything is negative. But the same person is not, or the people that we hear that talk about that, they are not standing in line. They're not voicing their ideas or opinions or developing their campaigns and so forth, or sitting at the table at the NAACP in their local neighborhood. So we want to inspire people to not just talk about it or down talk, definitely not down talk anything that they're not being progressive at solving an issue or providing solutions. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to flip the script for you real quick.
Hey, sister,
Yeah.
I have to go to a protest march, not a protest, but a Juneteenth celebration at the Forum with some ministers and stuff. So I'm gonna sign off unless you need me for something else, then I will sign
it's
off.
okay. Absolutely. Thank you. But yeah, since you mentioned that, can you tell them about what you were looking for the 1,000 ministers?
Absolutely, I will.
Yes.
And also, I'm going to be talking to you later about a national task force that we're putting together on racism and those type of issues. And I would like you to consider being a part of that. Absolutely. So I will contact you on that and go from there. This is a national thing. Texas, Washington, Michigan, New York. So I have people there already starting the movement. And so out of California, which will have the biggest group, we'll want you to be part of that for all the work that you do in the community, and your opinion is valued. So, I'll be contacting you on that.
Okay, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you very much. Listening up, and I'll be there. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay then. All right. Bye-bye.
Have fun. Good work. Thank you. Absolutely. So it's really an honor to be able to speak with people of Reverend Shaw's stature and be able to call at will. And I'm very appreciative for that opportunity. All right. So here I want to share with you all a perspective, or you might want to call it an analogy. All right. Sports and voting. So with that in mind, if you don't know about esports has been around about 10 years now. And Michael Reddick and his daughter are co-founders. And just to let you know, it started as a homework assignment for his daughter, and they're out of South Central LA. And just know that it helps to provide opportunities for so many people. And I'm just going to read it right here for you so you can see for yourself and locate the website, the EACL opportunity. That's what that OPP stands for. The EACL is made up of social entrepreneurs who understand our innovative use of fun and competition while incorporating a business-like discipline to create a vehicle of funding for various nonprofits that tackle an array of community issues. So with that in mind, it's a fun platform. Just to know also that children who love to play video games, they can actually go and play video games and make money for their fellow nonprofit organizations, or whether it's their church or it's a community, a business that their family or friends own. And just so you know, it's this is just a wonderful sight, isn't it? Just to see all the people together, especially after just being on quarantine. So I just think that we are EACL. I'm part of EACL as well. That is different regions. How in the world? You just know. I just want you to know, just like this rocket here. And sometimes, yes, there's a science to it and it's a process to everything, but you can skyrocket with your ideas. So I just want to encourage you all to thank EACL for doing this wonderful opportunity. It's a holistic approach to investing in entrepreneurship, and children can be involved and to do great things for these monumental nonprofit organizations. It takes a lot to even acquire a nonprofit, to write up mission and vision and so much more. And it is a big deal. So for children to understand the capacity that they have to help with what they think is just for adults or older people, it's amazing. It's amazing how much you can help just from even playing video games after you get your priorities taken care of. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to share some Facebook videos here. I'm going to check to see if, yes, I can get there. Absolutely. All right, so wonderful. I just want to share from here. It says that 5 Points Youth Foundation, absolutely go to work, support everywhere. It says, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video, but know that this is on my Facebook page and it's in this video now. So it's an honor also to be a Goodwill ambassador for the United Nations. And that is Andrew Williams Jr., who's a fine writer here, but I did submit the information here. I just know he put this together very well. I appreciate him, and as well as Silky D, who is the entertainment director of the Universal Hip Hop Museum, as well as a Goodwill ambassador for the United Nations. And there was a video here, yes, I wanted to share that I had an acting class, and I just want to share this really quick clip. This is pretty neat.
My name is Jasmine Moreno, and I get to go to work. We're at Moment Playhouse, and this is our house. From us, that's me. That's our teacher, Michelle Moreno, and those are the kids. We are getting on-camera practice, and we are learning how to at Moments Playhouse. I really love singing. That's my favorite part, and I really love that. And I also like when we have to practice filming, because you get to go on YouTube. I think you guys should go to Moments Playhouse, because if you guys really want to be famous like me or other people, you guys should go here, and it also teach you a lot about acting. And then when you grow up, you can also be a teacher like Michelle Merrill. You can always teach the little kids how to act, so then they can teach their kids or other kids. That's why I like Moments Playhouse. I love acting class. Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's Andre Aram with that song. I need to put that in when I reshared that video there. Absolutely. So it never gets old when you hear a child say that they want to teach other people because somebody else taught them. And it's just very special. All right. So with that in mind, this is what I'm working on doing for you all. And at the same token, I'm going to check in with the Zoom right now, and then I'm going to share a video with you all about the purpose of backgrounds. I want to share with you all that do not know about the screensavers. I'm still working on the lighting. I'll get some more lighting. This is just like a brief commercial because this is a work in progress situation. So yes, you can lift up your computer and so forth, and then you would get more of your T-shirt and so forth. At the same time, if you have a green screen, then the green screen, if it's compatible with your computer, it'll help you with these background pictures. And you just choose a virtual background. And if you want to add a specific type of picture, then here is a suggestion to go to canva.com. Oh my goodness, I'm not sharing my screen. Lord. Okay, so let me go back here. So I was not sharing the video with you. All right, so let me go back here and share with you really quick. You can go to canva.com. All right, canva.com. So you're watching and listening, so that's great. I had the listening earphones on, so. So you go to canva.com, and then here you want to create a design. And most often the Instagram post, it actually helps you to create a design that's neat and universal for many different platforms, just so you know. And so you can upload your pictures. So you click on upload, and then you click on upload an image. And that's simply what I did. I chose an image, you know, when I do videos for other people. Then, you know, the pictures are all on my desktop. But at the same time, let me choose this one here. This is my logo for the publishing company. So you would just drag it over, and then you can always choose a background, different background, and then you would have to adjust it. But just so you know, you click on the side panel here where it says background, and then say you want to try to put blue back there, and then you would make this smaller, of course, so you can see more of that blue and give it a tint, if you will. And then if you want to add, like I don't have GoDaWork publishing because it could be so many different things, but I can add text here and as a heading or subheading, and then you just type it in here, and then I'm gonna show you how to, the best way to do this. It's just this quick. So people that need to learn how to make flyers, not that I'm trying to put anybody out of business, that's what people think most of the time when you sharing information, but it is a task, and it still depends on how you want things to look, and it takes time to create different things. And with that in mind, like this could be a different print, like I can go through all these different things and really give it a story right here. So that this is nothing I would use right there because it's plain right there, but I would really have to work on it. But this is just for purposes of sharing with people, education. And if you create a flyer for voting in your classroom, or children are making a portfolio, or they're creating something for what they learned over the summer and what have you, they can. There's small writing there, so you would see that, so you don't want that, so you go back and click the X, and then where it's already highlighted, you click delete, and so no longer there. And again, download, change it to JPG or picture. On the PNG, it works often too, but it seems to be more universal to use the JPG. And then you click file, and what makes it easier for you if you put it on your desktop, so you can retrieve it faster. And even when I'm doing Final Cut Pro X, it makes it much easier. So now that's there on my desktop. I can move this out the way. Technically, I can just click off of here. I want to double check that I'm still sharing with you all here on Zoom. Yes, it says stop share right there. And now I would go back to the Zoom here and click on the icon at the bottom of the desktop, which you probably don't see, but no, I'm going to click on my picture right here so I can get back here and use the three dots on the side. Try to open this back up for you so I can change the background when you're able to see really. It says I'm talking. All right, let me stop sharing so I can see. All right, so I'm gonna go stop video, choose virtual background, and then I'm going to click on add. There's a plus sign. I wish I could show that to you. Let me see. Let me go back here. Go back here. Share screen. And now I'm going to go here to where it says video. Choose virtual background. And I'm going to click on the plus sign here. And then it's the first video, first picture that's on the desktop. And now it adds it here. And then when I clicked on it. When it added, it automatically switched to the background that we just created with the blue background. So, and then with green screen and even better lighting, I won't look so dusty. So, and then I can move my chair over technically so you can see in the camera. All right. So that's how you pretty much try to adjust yourself to your camera. Now, the other thing is to make this easier, we could go back in here into Canva and then reposition. That's what I would need to do. Reposition this flyer so it's offset, so that way it's not in the middle where you want to be. All right, and then that way people can see. All right, going forward, this is a working video, absolutely. So you get a lot of information here. Not just a lot of talk, but I will be reading to you shortly. So I'm gonna go back to the Facebook video, and I'm going to have to add that at the end of this video so that way you can see it, so that way it doesn't get lost into the shuffle due to the fact I'm not sure when you will see this video. All right, so I'm gonna start here. I want to introduce you now to all the different various clubs I have. Okay, so we can help further educate our fellow class.
This is
students.
Michelle Farrell, the owner of Journey to Stardom Productions. Go to work. Now, there is a lot going on in the world today, but I figured that I need to bring back my clubs. So here is an ample time for you all to peruse these different clubs and incorporate them into your students' children's life, so that way they can be more well-rounded, because it is a bit of a challenge for many people during this time, especially with this first week back from spring break. But I have something for you, all of these different avenues. So let's go to work.
Absolutely. All right, and then I also have a video here. Let me stop sharing there, and I'm going to go back here to let you see something here. Okay, so let me stop. I want to share with you a video that I created, so that way it was I want to share a video that I shared about a week or 2 weeks ago. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to my page on Facebook to locate that video. If there was someone else on here at this time, I would actually have them share what they do. Absolutely. So it works out well, as when you actually study and focus on what you want to share with people, it actually helps you to think of some other ideas that you might want to do in the future. And it helps people to learn more about you at the same time. It's a different perspective because, I know I enjoy having fun doing fun videos and so forth. And at the same time, it's really, 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 really neat to be able to showcase other people's work and share what I suggest that we do. And at the same time, I know that some things have worked very, very well. So with that in mind, it would be extraordinary for you to hear this video right here. All right. With that in mind, I'm going to share my screen here. Good work, good work, good work, good work. All right. Thank you. A little bit about me. Okay. Yay. Okay. This is what you call replay. Uh-oh. This is funny. Share some ideas. If you haven't seen the video prior to this video and the video before that and so forth, please know that I'm looking for education, entrepreneurship, and entertainment. All right, so keep that in mind. I'm going to pause this video and let you know that if you have any headphones, you can hear this. I'm hoping that you're listening to the Zoom with your headphones. If you're not listening to the Zoom with your headphones, it's very pertinent information. And if you just put your earphones in here, I'm telling you, you would appreciate it. Absolutely. Critical thinking skills, suggestions that you want to share with your children. Family members, and so much more. Auntie GoDaWork has a book club for children who want to enter them, or what I say, or have them join the club and so forth. Inbox. All right. So also those of you that know, you go back and double check. Yes, I'm an advocate, I'm a coach, and so forth. So I'm talking about those of you that don't know that I've been teaching for about 20 years. You know that this is a real situation. I know I play all the time. There's a multi-talented person, but also know that I'm a very serious person about English. And a serious person about helping people to have that growth mindset and understand that they cannot have the same one. They can be multi-talented. And they're multi-dimensional just in the fact that they're. So with that in mind, people that need ideas to focus their children's mindset on something that's conducive and constructive for their future growth, some of the future generation, to just suggestions, and you can go back and look at the video that's posted that shares GoDaWork and a plethora of posters there. Okay, absolutely. So the graphic design, and those of you that know I do videos, I actually do Final Cut poets as well as iMovies, but I can help your fellow students and neighbors and family members that help sharing forward a lot of different things. Okay, so it's that time. If you don't know, it's easy to very much so contact me. So definitely see my phone number. It seems to be everywhere, but I just tell people to text, but let alone you want to write, because I write all the time. Or I text, it just seems easy. But for some reasons, it's a challenge. But you're very serious about helping fellow students and their children in church and so forth. Get them active, okay? Put active, yes, in the social media world and so forth. They have adverse attitudes towards social media. Okay, so be it, but that's the world that we live in. You know, I'll keep it real with the 0 to 100. Every social media platform, any platform, that's the way you live a life on that platform. It's up to you to recognize and persevere with the platform's opportunities and what you offer. It's a ladder of successes that you have to excel or to help others, but a step up, that's up to you. So to not social media, that's just a pet peeve. Like, does that because that same person does not get social media, but we have our children to showcase their talents, whether they are in a robotic club or a drama club or a vocal performance club or a speech and debate club, they can start it. Okay? We just pretty much quarantine the world. So social media is actually a platform, but it
some people might not want to be on mainstream television, radio, and so forth, like that grassroots paradigm. So social media is that syndicated platform. So we got to get people to understand different platforms for different purposes. So we're not to not see that we don't utilize ourselves because we don't see ourselves in like something that somebody else can benefit. So, and the video that you see just a couple hours ago, definitely the international backward, but just an example. I read this to you all. Students will be encouraged to think independently and drive their own learning. What that we have a lot of people that schools need a lot of information for a lot of children, whether a student as an adult or a student as a child. Remember, every great leader is a great follower. And people that have an issue with the thought process of being a follower, started as a follower, you learn how to shoelaces back in the day. And you would pull yourself up like a shoelaces or blue laces right now. But there was a possibility, there was a time during their follow rate. The example of this way. And some people won't want to hear that. They hear what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, they will benefit a plethora of. So whether we developing vocabulary or what have you, auntie go to work, go to work. Okay, this education, entrepreneurship, and entertainment, it develops a whole lot. So whether you get down with being dealing with a person that's multi-talented or don't understand a person that's multi-talented, I'm telling you, the students and children out there, they need more people that are diverse in intellect, delivery, and understand various audiences as well. So know this, even if it's not an international baccalaureate club or book club or drum club or what have you, definitely clubs that are showcase already, it's imperative that we help to shape their minds at the same time versus just letting all the information just speak on there. Cool. Give them some ideas. Like this right here. Whether it's the what do you call it, my hair, a wig, the color, the whatever, still better teach them how to be entrepreneurs. Teach our children to look at things in a different mindset. You can sure I don't want to share what my perspective. This is just an opportunity to have for curiosity for people to shape their own ideals sometimes, right? And provide them some type of opportunity, visual or what have you. Understand? So now I use this with something else. Don't just push kids to go to work with that. Know that there's windows. So some people like, well, can you just tell me what everything else that you're going to say? What happened? That's the problem. We need more people to think for themselves, make inferences. This is a quality and a skill that a lot of people have issues with because they don't do it. They don't know what it's talking about. Okay, so we got to help people, students, the little people, the children, the people you call talking about the future generation. But this is what this is about. And I will be back. Okay? So let me finish reading this real quick. What they talk about was an international baccalaureate club. It could be any club, like I'm saying, okay? Go over. I also just know that to become more culturally aware, the development of the second language is powerful as well. So that we like talk about black and brown, this could be looked at as black and brown. Help develop or help develop its future words. TLC, what do you TLC or detox, whatever the case may be. Just know absolutely you know what you're doing. You're gonna spend time like I'll spend time free right here online. Yes, I'm gonna showcase what I'm doing. Now, yes, I'm looking forward to people tying into what I'm talking about and asking questions, being a part of it. Absolutely. I'm telling you, you want something. Okay, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not just on here to showcase. I don't want you to buy these products. I don't want you to buy the books. I don't want you to be a part drama club, book club. I want to help to elevate the children all over the world. Don't have to be just your block, your backyard, your community. It's everybody. It's some people that just not keep relevant. Look, this is the status quo. We need more people that's very passionate about education. And I'm one of those people. It's 21 years. I'm not a 5-year burnout teacher. I'm 21 years deep. You understand me? And not just one degree, but 3 degrees with that. I understand and see. No, I'm not perfect. No, I don't know everything, but I know that I'm a Jew. I know that part right there. And I know we're multi-talented teachers teaching. I know it's more backyard teachers that teach more than some people that have 6, 7 different degrees. I know that for a fact. I know people that's really just making regulations and passing this and that and whatever. Never taught a class. Never stepped up foot. Never picked up a 30 days what it feels like to be a real teacher. You understand me? So it's a dynamic that it takes a real special person to be 21 years and teaching in urban America and still have the fervor, the passion, the zeal to teach you further and teach communities worldwide. Be able to still go from 0 to 100, dealing with different facets and different people, and still know how to be quiet, still know how to step up to the mic when it step up to the mic. And some people that don't understand that when you're quiet, that's a must. Because people like to run up in the mouth. This right here is information. Yes, I know, information was free, everything like that. Wherever they heard that from, that is incorrect. I'm gonna tell you right now, information is a commodity. When you don't have information, in some other situation, I'm going into that in another character. What happened right now is something I'm telling you. So it's a lot of different things, and I know it's different audiences and so forth, and some people juggling. But I'm telling you right now, it's so many different things that I'm gonna come back to and tell you about tiny technical and just motivationally at the same time. But I tell you this, why I'm gonna come back and know that there's some different things that you're choosing with your friends and family and so forth. But it starts with basics. Paper, pencil, pen, highlighters, ink tabs, books, even a source from the dollar store, whatever store, hand seeds, a dictionary. Yes, we do have this tool on the phone, but it's nothing like turning the pages and actually having to go through guide words and so forth. Sometimes going in that, what we know as technology, yes, we live in information technology. But at the same time, versatile. No, it's just like planting something. Still get out there and plant. Still might pick up something to a machine to till the ground or what have you. It's actually really need to go in the phone. So, but you know what? I can see this way. I can do this way. Just like it's more than one way of something happening. So with that in mind, I'm gonna just add a couple more things. Please prepare the children, family members, friends, and so forth. Listen to transitional words and listen to sample paragraphs, listen to phrases, again, sentences, sentence starters, what have you, whatever you want to call them, but get them equipped with decent information so that way they can integrate them. That's what I'm going to share with them. People forget about rapid organizing, people forget about writing down lists and remind their children to write down 5, 7, or 10 planning for as goals for the next day. It's not just business people, it's children that are the same thing right now. They regenerate their minds. So while they're sleeping, just working in their physiological capacity, and at the same time, they work at their optimal level if they go to sleep at a regular time. That's the basis of the physical. Just being human. Something that physiological happens when you go to sleep at roughly the same time. No one's going to be perfect or mechanical, but it's something about it. It's all that. So synapses, dendrites, about that. So let me know about Auntie GoDaWork.
No more. Go to work, go to work, go to work. So I'm going to stop sharing there. And thank you very much for listening and sharing that information. I know that's a strained listening opportunity if you didn't have any earphones, but trying to help also with people participation when we call listening participation. At the same time, is the attention span specifically that I want to share. All right, so with that in mind, okay, so I'm going to share again with you all, going toward the presentation that I created earlier today. So with that in mind, we were there already. I'm going to take this from here off of the exit the big screen. Okay. And like we want to encourage the children to make things the best that they can. And at the same time, wow, that time says 1:11. That's the first time I looked at that time. And that's amazing. 3 ones there. Okay, so I'm going to give a commercial here as we talk about finances. And it says one, no, let me make this bigger for you. All right, One United Bank. I just copy and pasted right off of the internet. It says our 2020 theme for Black History Month is our right to vote. 2020 marks the 150th anniversary of the 15th Amendment, February 3rd, 1870, and Black men's right to vote, and the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, August 26, 1920, and Black women's right to vote. Voting and civil rights translate into our economic well-being. We can bank Black and buy Black today because of the legacy of our ancestors who fought. I'm moving this out the way. Absolutely, so I can see here. Absolutely, who fought for our voting and civil rights. All right, so definitely that was a commercial there for One United Bank. Not that they pay me, but due to the fact that we constantly talk about finances, and some people do have a bank, some people don't have a bank account. And there are other apps that you can use, like we now know about Chime. People that need to get a bank account so they can have a routing number as well as an account number for different facets. Okay. I remind our children to research. Please, at this time, if you would like to share, please use the Zoom tool to raise your hand. And that only applies, obviously, to people that were on Zoom. Okay, so the Congressional Black Caucus. The Congressional Black Caucus is a 527 political group of Black members of Congress who seek to be the voice for people of color and vulnerable communities in Congress, and has been committed to utilizing the full constitutional power, statutory authority, and financial resources of the government of the United States of America to ensure that everyone in the United States has an opportunity to achieve the American dream. And we may want to talk about what is your definition of American dream at a later date. Also, or you can add that in comments. The mission statement of the Congressional Black Caucus is as follows. And you can read more information, but just want to give you background. And I'm going to go back so you can see Congressional Black Caucus. We do have one. All right. And then you can see the logo that's there. And right now, the current chair is Karen Bass. All right. Okay. With that in mind, going forward here, you know that's always fun on when you're live. That is too funny. All right, so things happen. So like we say, just keep going. All right. So at this point in time, I'm gonna stop sharing so I can go back here. It's like taste of medicine you don't like. Like, what happened right there? Oh my goodness, why did that have to happen? But you know what? That's part of the process. So that's why it's still in this video as you're watching it. And thank you for sharing the video. Just so people will know, nothing has to be perfect, but please put your best foot forward if at all possible. And because around the world, we never know where these videos may land and in whose hand, because we know we have a lot of people even in Africa that is so far away from the state of California that would love to hear this information. So I'm going to say hello to you because I'm going to purposefully send it to you. Hello, everybody in Africa. Amen. I love you. That's what I want to say. Absolutely. All right. So with that in mind, I'm going to go back here and share my screen. Go back. Awesome. Share. And go here to, I'm not sure if you can really see my desktop, but at the same time. Here we go. I want to, this is what you're supposed to do is minimize that. And then you exit. And then you go to the screen that you want. So I wanted to show you what I need to do in the first place before that break, but it gave me a chance to tell people I love them. Absolutely. All right, so here I'm going to go forward. This is one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus. So at this time, I'm going to put it in a present mode so you can read along with me, or you can simply draw, or you could doodle as you're listening, because this is phenomenal. One of the founders, and then I'll have a commercial there. That's pretty neat. Okay, so it says, this is what I did. I researched. I typed in once I found out who was one of the Black Caucus. Oh, let me see if I can take you back there. Hold on, because this is part of it. Learn how to research. So when here, the Congressional Black Caucus, right? And now I can go here to actually have it up here. All right, so the mission here, the mission statement of the Congressional Black Caucus is as follows, and this is where I'm going to lead you to find out why or where did I just learn about Augustus Hawkins here. All right, one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus. So just really quick, since its establishment in 1971, so it's not that long ago, members of the Congressional Black Caucus have joined together to empower America's neglected citizens and to address their legislative concerns. For more than 40 years, the CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, has consistently been the voice for people of color and vulnerable communities in Congress, and has been committed to utilizing the full constitutional power, statutory authority, and financial resources of the government of the United States of America to ensure that everyone in the United States has an opportunity to achieve their version of the American dream. And that goes back to what I was sharing. We could have a different discussion about what is somebody's definition of the American dream. All right. And then as I look, there's background about the CDC here, the creation of universal access to a world-class education from birth through post-secondary level, the creation of universal access to quality, affordable health care, and the elimination of racially based health disparities, the creation of universal access to modern technology, capital, and full, fairly compensated employment, the creation and or expansion of U.S. foreign policy initiatives that will contribute to the survival, health, education, and general welfare of all people of the world in a manner consistent with universal human dignity, tolerance, and respect, and such other legislative action as a majority of the entire CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, membership may support. This is where I found founding members. There were 13 founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and they're listed here. And then one, because I know DJ Clientele, his last name is Hawkins, it was just extraordinary. I said, well, let me see, Augustus F. Hawkins. I was interested, and so then I went to type up research Augustus F. Hawkins here, and then this is where I found the information. So I just simply did this, and then it said read more. And this will lead me to the screen, this tab I already had open right there. All right, so with that in mind, have your listening ears on. And before I share with you all about listening, this is just an example for me that I wish people, when they would get new information about someone, or about something, or there is an opportunity to learn information, it's going to take sustained energy. That means you're not going to be able to move around too much. And I hope I exemplified that listening to myself for almost 18 minutes for that video that you could really barely even hear. Okay, from the Zoom with the capacity of the different tools I have right here. And so I hope that helped you to know that there is a thing called, shall we say, a phrase called sustained listening. And that sustained listening is just like when people say the one word, focus. Just like people say at the same time, there's one word, simultaneously. That means all those four small words at the same time, simultaneously. So simultaneously, you can listen with sustained listening, and that means you can focus, whether you're just looking directly at the literature that's before you, that's being read to you, or you're drawing or doodling or taking notes at the same time that you're listening. Whether you use a notepad, you use a legal pad, you use sticky notes, use index cards, but sustained listening that's where we need to get our fellow classmates and people in our communities to build that muscle. And when you build that muscle, then thereby you're able to use more critical thinking skills, and you also increase your vocabulary as well. All right, but this is what I hope. I wish people would just start feeling this way physiologically when they're listening, just like they do when they listen on their earphones, the earbuds, you know. You can feel it, you can see it as much as you hear it. You get ready to move with it, whether it's a pen, it's a pencil. You get ready, like you're in a studio, ready to lay down some tracks. Are you ready to sing with so much emotion? That's how much you want to listen. This is so informative information, that part right there. Yes, and then I could feel my logo, my medallion here moving around in my ponytail right there. But whatever your favorite song is, or what song you vibing to at that different day and age and so forth. So here we go. So Augustus, the F stands for Freeman Hawkins. And wow, he's born in August 31st, 1907. November 10th, 2007, unfortunately, he left here, but he did a plethora of work, because I've already read this, obviously, during his time frame. Wow, 1907, and then there's a 2007. Was a prominent American Democratic Party. And whatever party, which party, not one, or which party you support or not support, the information here, what we need to instill upon future advocates, or like Miss Reverend Shaw was sharing about the rise in consciousness that's happening in the world today. And this video is created on June 20th, 2020. June 20th, 2020. All right. And it was just 120 not too long ago. It's 124 as I'm sharing this to you. All right. It says Augustus Freeman Hawkins, August 31st, 1907 to November 10th, 2007. He walked this earth. Was a prominent American Democratic Party politician and a figure in the history of civil rights. And we got to get past people who want to tone off or turn off because they hear one word or one phrase that does not resonate with them. All right, we need to help our community with that. All right, so yes, he's definitely a public figure in the history of civil rights and organized labor. He served as the first African American from California in the United States Congress. Over the course of his career, Hawkins authored more than 300 state and federal laws, the most famous of which are Title VII. It is amazing. Oh my goodness. We had to have another show on that. Of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the 1978 Humphrey Hawkins Full Employment Act. He was known as a silent warrior for his commitment to education and ending unemployment. Hawkins emphasized throughout his career that the leadership belongs not to the loudest, not to those who beat the drums or blow the trumpets, but to those who day in and day out in all seasons work for the practical realization of a better world, those who have the stamina to persist and remain dedicated. Hawkins remained devoted to this principle throughout his life, dedicating himself to reform. Hawkins was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, the youngest of five children to Nyanza Hawkins and Hattie Freeman. In 1918, the family moved to Los Angeles. Hawkins graduated from Jefferson High School in 1926 and received a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of California, Los Angeles in 1931. After graduation, he planned to study civil engineering, but the financial constraints of the Great Depression made this impossible. This contributed towards his interest in politics and his lifelong devotion to education. After graduating, Hawkins operated a real estate company with his brother and studied government. While serving in the California State Assembly, Hawkins married Pega Adeline Smith on August 28, 1945. Smith died in 1966, and Hawkins later married Elsie Taylor in 1977. Hawkins was very fair-skinned and resembled his English grandfather. Throughout his life, he was often assumed to be of solely white ancestry, though he refused to pass as white. Political career in the state assembly, Augustus Hawkins served in California at a time when black representation was so limited that the black strategy for gaining political power was to exercise influence within the Democratic Party through voting for lobbying white politicians. Aside from Hawkins, Los Angeles blacks had no other political representative in city, county, state, or federal government. Hawkins was part of a more general shift by African Americans away from the Republican and towards the Democratic Party. Unlike the majority of African Americans, he supported Franklin D. Roosevelt's campaign for president in 1932. Hawkins favored measures such as the New Deal, which was wildly popular in the United States at large, and the African American community in particular. Roosevelt would go on to be the first Democratic president to win the black vote in 1936. In 1934, Hawkins supported the more controversial 1934 California gubernatorial election of Upton Sinclair, a socialist. Although Sinclair lost, Hawkins defeated Republican Frederick Madison Roberts, the great-grandson of Sally Hemings, and President Thomas Jefferson, and the first African American in the California State Assembly. Hawkins would serve as a Democratic member of the Assembly from 1935 until 1963, by the time of his departure being the most senior member like Roberts before him. Hawkins' district was primarily Latino American and African American. During his time in the Assembly, he introduced legislation similar to that which he would later endorse in the Senate, including a Fair Housing Act, a Fair Employment Practices Act, legislation for low-cost housing and disability insurance, and provisions for workmen's compensation for domestics, along with education. Fair practices in employment and housing became Hawkins' major causes. He received little support all the time for these measures from the Democratic Party. However, nevertheless, he was able to get some measures passed, including his fair housing law, which prohibited discrimination by any builders who received federal funds. Hawkins was also a delegate to the National Conventions of 1940, 1944, and 1960, as well as an electoral college presidential elector from California in 1944. In 1958, Hawkins sought to be Speaker of the California State Assembly, which was the second most powerful position in the state after the Governor of California. Hawkins lost to Ralph M. Brown, but was made chairman of the Powerful Rules Committee. Had Hawkins succeeded, he would have been the first African American speaker in California history. Willie Brown would achieve this feat in 1980. In 1962, Hawkins won a newly created majority black congressional district encompassing central Los Angeles with an endorsement from John F. Kennedy. Hawkins easily won the primary and the general election. After the election, Hawkins remarked, "It's like shifting gears from the oldest man in the assembly in years of service to a freshman in Congress." From 1963 to 1991, Hawkins represented California's 21st district. 1963 to 1975, and the 29th District, 1975 to 1991, covering southern Los Angeles County in Congress. Hawkins was consistently elected with over 80% of the vote in his Democratic-friendly district. He was the first black representative elected west of the Mississippi River. Hawkins was a strong supporter of President Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society. Early in his congressional career, he authored legislation including Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that established the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Hawkins was a strong supporter of civil rights and toured the South in 1964 to advocate for African American voter registration. 5 days after the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed into law, the Watts riot occurred in Hawkins' district. It was the first of many race riots in the 1960s. Hawkins urged his colleagues in Congress to increase anti-poverty funds. Wow. Like, I need to write that down because I want to talk about that at a later date too. Due to his light skin and heightened racial tensions, Hawkins had to be careful when he visited his district shortly after the riots. The riots stalled the Great Society, particularly over the fair housing. Blacks who benefited from Great Society laws were blamed as being harmful to the law and order of America, particularly if they were allowed to live next to whites. Fair housing was still an unpopular issue in America. Democratic Senate nominee Pierre Salinger lost to Republican George Murphy in California over the issue, marking the only Republican pickup in Lyndon Johnson's crushing presidential victory over anti-civil rights Barry Goldwater in 1964. Open housing reform seemed next on the Great Society list after the Voting Rights Act was signed, but the Watts riot put a hold on. It was not passed until after the 1968 assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. On the Vietnam War, Hawkins initially agreed with President Johnson. In 1964, both insisted that the war undermined the Great Society and that the United States could not impose our way of life on other people. When it became clear that South Vietnam was not stable enough to survive without American backing, Hawkins increased his criticism of the war. After touring South Vietnam, June 1970, Hawkins and fellow Democratic Representative William Anderson drafted a House resolution urging Congress to condemn the cruel and inhumane treatment of prisoners in South Vietnam. Anderson and Hawkins had visited South Vietnam with 9 other congressmen, but they were the only 2 to visit a civilian South Vietnamese prison on Con Son Island, which they described as being akin to tiger cages. The 2 representatives also pressured President Nixon to send an independent task force to investigate the prison and prevent further degradation and death. Hawkins was a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus and served as a vice chairman during his first term, 1971 to 1973. Hawkins did not play a significant role in the CBC, as he preferred to focus on legislation rather than use Congress as a bully pulpit, like other African Americans such as Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Bill Clay, and Ron Dellums. Hawkins argued that there needed to be clear thinking and fewer exhibitionists in the civil rights movement. During this time, Hawkins succeeded in restoring honorable discharges to the 170 black soldiers of the 25th Infantry Regiment who had been falsely accused of a public disturbance in Brownsville, Texas in 1906 and removed from the Army. Unlike other CBC members, he sought cooperation from organized labor and white ethnics in order to make his agenda more likely to pass into law. In 1980, Hawkins criticized the CBC as 85% social and 15% business. Aside from the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, laws that Hawkins was instrumental in passing include the 1974 Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act, a law which provides certain protections to young criminal offenders, the 1978 Comprehensive Employment and Training Act, and the 1978 Pregnancy Disability Act, which aimed to prevent discrimination against women on the basis of pregnancy, and of which Hawkins said, "We have the opportunity to ensure that genuine equality in the American labor force is more than an illusion, and that pregnancy will no longer be the basis of unfavorable treatment of working women. Hawkins is known best of all for the 1978 Humphrey-Hawkins Full Employment Act, which Hawkins sponsored in 1977 alongside the legendary Senator Hubert Humphrey of Minnesota. The bill gave the U.S. government the goal to provide full employment. It also ordered that the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board must provide Congress with testimony on the state of the economy. However, by the time it made to President Jimmy Carter's desk, the legislation was clearly symbolic. Hawkins later authored landmark legislation such as the Job Training Partnership Act and the 1988 School Improvement Act. He became the chair of the House Education and Labor Committee in 1984. Hawkins was frustrated from the relative lack of success that he achieved during the 1980s presidency of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. They were the most conservative presidents since the 1920s, and members of his own party were moving to the right and viewed Hawkins' old school New Dealer stance as outdated. His greatest setback was George H.W. Bush's veto of the Civil Rights Act of 1990, sometimes called the Hawkins-Kennedy Civil Rights Act. It would have reversed 6 Supreme Court decisions made in the previous year that have shifted the burden of proof of discriminating hiring practices of minorities or women from the employer to the employee. It remains the only successful veto of a Civil Rights Act in United States history. Again, it remains the only successful veto of a Civil Rights Act in United States history. Hawkins retired in 1991. Bush would sign a less expansive bill, the Civil Rights Act of 1991, after Hawkins' retirement. Hawkins retired in 1991 to his Los Angeles home, having never lost an election in 58 years as an elected official. He lived in Washington, D.C. for the remainder of his life until his death at the age of 100. He was the oldest living person to have served in Congress. He was the 8th person to have served in Congress that reached the age of 100. Hawkins' death left the former Alabama Republican Representative Arthur Glenn Andrews, 1909 to 2008, as the oldest living former House member. Legacy: the Augustus F. Hawkins Natural Park was built in 2000 in a highly urbanized area of South Los Angeles. The cost was $14.5 million and was financed largely by city, county, and state bond measures. The park encompasses 8.5 acres and features the Evan Frankel Discovery Center, which includes natural history and environmental interpretive displays. The address is 5790 Compton Avenue, Los Angeles. The zip codes associated with that area are listed in the United States Postal Service databases with the place name, city name, August F. Hall. Wow. So August F. Hawkins High School in Los Angeles opened in 2012. It is named in his honor. Wow, only 8 years ago. So much, and he passed away. Wow, it opened in 2012, and he passed away in 2007. So unfortunately, he didn't see that happen. So at the same time, just would love for you all to know, man, we have so much going on in the world, as you already know. But there's so many great people doing phenomenal things. I do want to share with you all. We have a Brad Carson that works with United Hood Nation, who is the president of United Hood Nation, the founder of Jobs Create Peace. We have so many other leaders in our communities that help to facilitate different measures that are for improving our future generations. So with that in mind, just want to go back here also to share the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Just a definition here. It's because it's a landmark, and it just I didn't share that on the slide. So just really quick, it says that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was enacted July 2nd, 1964, and it's a landmark civil rights and labor law in the United States that outlaws discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It prohibits unequal application of voter registration requirements, and racial segregation in schools, employment, and public accommodations. Initially, powers given to enforce the act were weak, but these were supplemented during later years. Congress asserted its authority to legislate under several different parts of the United States Constitution, principally its powers to regulate interstate commerce under Article 1. Section 8 is duty to guarantee all citizens equal protection of the laws under the 14th Amendment, and its duty to protect voting rights under the 15th Amendment. And here on the side, as you see, it says an act to enforce the constitutional right to vote, to confer jurisdiction upon the district courts of the United States of America, to provide injunctive relief against discrimination in public accommodations, to authorize the Attorney General to institute suits to protect constitutional rights in public facilities and public education, to extend the Commission on Civil Rights to prevent discrimination in federally assisted programs, to establish a commission and equal employment opportunity, and for other purposes. Okay. And to go back here, I also wanted to share, just to click on also as well, is the Housing Act, the Title VII here, which is about, is also shared again here. And later on in here, there it is. All right. Also, just so you can read that information right there. Do know, let's see, this title declares it to be the policy of the United States. That's the general information right there. I would love for you to get this information right here. Title 7 of the Act, codified as subchapter 6 of Chapter 21 of Title 42 of the United States Code, prohibits discrimination by covered employers on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This Title 7 applies to and covers an employer who has 15 or more employees for each working day in each of 20 or more calendar weeks in the current or preceding calendar year, as written in the definition section under 42 U.S.C. 2000 E.B. Title 7 also prohibits discrimination against an individual because of his or her association with another individual of a particular race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, such as by an interracial marriage. The EEO Title VII has also been supplemented with legislation prohibiting pregnancy, age, and disability discrimination. All right, so just wanted to go back and share. We have information. I know that we need more titles to be shared. So with that in mind, just starting with Title 1 and going here, just so you can know. I'm just going back right here. Woo! Voting rights here. This title barred unequal application of voter registration requires. Title I did not eliminate literacy tests, which acted as one barrier for black voters. Other racial minorities and poor whites in the South or address economic retaliation, police repression, or physical violence against non-white voters. While the act did require that voting rules and procedures be applied equally to all races, it did not abolish the concept of voter qualification. It accepted the idea that citizens do not have an automatic right to vote, but would have to meet standards beyond citizenship. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 directly addressed and eliminated most voting qualifications beyond citizenship. Okay, so we hear the Voting Rights of 1965. This is definition. Title II, Public Accommodations, outlaw discrimination based on race, color, religion, or national origin in hotels, motels, restaurants, theaters, and all other public accommodations engaged in interstate commerce. Exempted private clubs without defining the term private. We also had Title III, desegregation of public facilities, prohibited state and municipal governments from denying access to public facilities on grounds of race, color, religion, or national origin. Title IV, desegregation of public education, and enforce the desegregation of public schools, and authorize the U.S. Attorney General to file suits to enforce said act. Title V expanded the Civil Rights Commission established by the earlier Civil Rights Act of 1957 with additional powers, rules, and procedures. Title VI prevents discrimination by programs and activities that receive federal funds. If a recipient of federal funds is found in violation of Title VI, that recipient may lose its federal funding. All right. So, with that in mind, we have general. The title declares it to be policy of the United States that discrimination on the ground of race, color, national origin shall not occur in connection with programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance, and authorizes and directs the appropriate federal departments and agencies to take action to carry out this policy. All right, and then we have the executive order. All right, so definitely like to share more with people about the information here. Lobbying efforts. There's a lot of people out there doing great work, trying to share information about voting, because there's a lot of people that say they don't want to vote. But then there was a time where there were literacy tests, and I'm wondering if those people would be able to pass the test, and because they're not recognizing if they can pass the test. They back then, the people that could pass the test, they would have loved to vote. So why not honor those people because you are literate, to vote on their behalf? It's something that they really, really, really wanted to do. So why not honor that? Just like we talk about the children of our future, and we're trying to influence them with information right now to help with the future. But we have to remember is on the backs of the past as well. A lot of people are in position to do what they're doing right now because of what people did in the past. And now, right now, is an instrumental time frame in which we live in right now. We definitely need to take into account how sincere and serious we need to be about stretching back and getting that information, sharing the information, and empowering our future generation. All right, I'll take you back to in a dozen of minutes we have allotted here. Switch gears just a little bit here and show you a commercial. All right.
Welcome everyone to Journey to Startup Productions, where you can get help with your concepts to production. We focus in entertainment, entrepreneurship, and education. And Journey to Startup Productions helps you with your voice as well. There's a GoDaWork publishing department as well to help you with your first book and more. We are a referral system as well, so please know that you will be making the right choice with Journey to Startup Productions. Please, go to work.
All right, with that in mind, please know that I am so very happy to know that that was fun. That was a little while ago. I took that, shared that clip there, and I was working on losing weight, so you can see my face calm down a little bit too. And at the same time, I am an independent. Actually, I'm a rising star. It's a different level in total life changes, and I know we go through changes. Companies go through changes and so forth, but the product works absolutely. So I will love to do a demonstration, but I wasn't prepared to do the demonstration. Now I want to think about doing a demonstration, and I could have set up demonstrations on the next video, the Zoom. I had to include a video about doing a demonstration for total life changes. That's another commercial. So with that in mind, there's ISOT, it's an International Association for the Study of Obesity. And I definitely believe in increasing literacy and decreasing obesity. And not that you have to have a degree, but I do want to share, I do have a degree. Let me see, you can see my t-shirt. And I do have a degree in health. At the same time, I love to share with people to advertise. Shout out to the Eastside Car Riders for my T-shirt here. And go to work is my mantra. If you don't know, because I definitely didn't formally introduce myself here, and I do want to share again. Thank you for sharing the video because I know it's a plethora of information here. It's not your regular Zoom. It's not your regular, because this is my first time doing a Zoom on this capacity with this seriousness, so it's a little different for me. At the same time, you see, I infuse a little comedy, and so forth. I could work on the sound on that commercial, absolutely, but at the same time, it's all pertinent information. Definitely shout out to UIN TV, it's a Black-owned network as well. So you're looking to have a channel there, please let them know. Go Work Ladies sent you. And looking forward, as you've seen, that it says Go to Work Future Billionaires, a meetup group of future billionaires. I just believe that, we can be a millionaire, we can be a thousandaire, we can be a hundredaire as well. We can be billionaires, we can be zillionaires, and so forth. But at the same time, I just want to encourage people to share with them when they focus on documentation and literacy, and not that you have to have all the different degrees and so forth. And I mean, technically, I only have 3, and at the same time, I'm looking forward to having 5. And yes, I'll have 100 books online on Amazon.com, but of course, I'm writing more books, so I'm have a working situation going on with 5 books right now. So soon you will see 105 books on Amazon, but it looks like it's more because, like I was sharing earlier, some of them duplicatable because they're Kindle and they're paperback. So it's not like I have 200 books. It's literally 100 at this point in time. As I was saying, it's June 20th in the year 2020 when I did this first series Zoom. And thank you, shout out to Patricia, Muhammad, who is the one that inspired many of us to do our own Zoom to showcase. That's a new one. I might have to use that. To showcase what we love to do and what our mantra is or what our campaign is. And so I know from birth, and my calling is to teach, infuse in education, as well as share information about voting rights and voting responsibility. And this is just an example of my voting responsibility. It's like I share case. It's a new one. Showcase this information in classes as a teacher, and then this was no problem. So thank you. And with Bobby Buck that introduced me to Patricia and got me on the phone call to do these conferences. And next time I'll have it more organized. So next year around this time, but this year is 2020. So we need to do all that we can this year. Is very pertinent and so many different things taking place. We know it's the census year, all these elected officials, these different electives. We call them electives in schools, but these different, absolutely these elections that are taking place here in 2020. So I just want to commend you for taking part of it. And if you are one of the rare people in this world that have sustained listening skills to the utmost level, and you have watched this video through and through, I commend you. I am so very proud of you. I have to say I love you because I know it takes a lot to go through the process with anyone that's starting anything for the first time. It is just phenomenal to be able to stick with it. And that's a word now, stick to itness. Okay, so to stick with somebody, but the urban dictionary it has stick to itness as a word. So I definitely need my word go to work in the urban dictionary as well, because it took a lot to sit here and go from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock. This is the first time I ever doing it's like something this series and in this capacity for I haven't even met Patricia. The lady that springboarded this conversation on the cell phone, and she doesn't even live in the state of California. And for Bobby Buck to call me to give me all these phone calls to tell me about the voting rights, and I'm not really sure if he's. Oh yes, he did tell you. He'll tell you too, and you can write that down. You can call him. You can email him. Whatever. And he'd tell you that he wasn't doing one of these. But he did agree to do the interviews, absolutely. So, as you know, Reverend Shaw, if you don't know, Reverend Shaw and I, we constantly share information on the weekends. For a while, maybe we missed a couple of weekends here and there. But over the years, we have communicated so much more about a vast array of things in the community. And as you said, he can talk on, speak, share wisdom, not just like some people talk about talking street. Trust me, speak, fuel, inspire, motivate, teach you from so many different perspectives. So, Reverend Shaw, I commend him. I thank him for being the guest here. And I know that it's a challenge for anybody to do anything for a length of time, especially during this time. There's so many people that have so many different things to do. But I'm hoping that this video will be shared with people that will take the time, even if they have to take spoon. This have to be spoon fed to them. You know, you have to take a break every 15 minutes and what have you, quadrants. But maybe you're washing dishes or dusting or organizing paperwork or paying your bills, and you're just listening. You don't technically have to watch the screen. And especially there's a portion in this video, if you just tuned in, that there's a portion in this video where the video is low because I'm sharing a video from Facebook, and I stopped the video and suggested that people use their earphones so they can listen to it more adequately or efficiently, shall we say. All right, so with that in mind, I'm just making it to this finish line, and it's really been fun actually. And so now I'm really encouraged, like self-motivated to do more of these. And now I know some other things that I would like to do, but I feel like I did a pretty good job at this time because it was my first time. And what I could do is go back here and share my screen and just do a presentation, share the presentation as a video. I won't stop to do the videos, of course, because we have less than 3 minutes, but just to share the actual video. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the beginning here and play it as a presentation. So it may go a little faster, but it's a recap, okay? All right, here we go. And I didn't put music on it because I already knew I was gonna talk through it, so go to work. Mm-hmm. And that reminds me, as I see it says referral system at the end, and just to know that I was listening to music because I know it might be a challenge to listen from my iPhone to music here as well. But since we have like less than a minute, we wouldn't be able to do justice to a song that I would play at this time. But I want you to know to look forward to the hub. There will be a website, a catch-all, a place where everybody can use their link trees and cultivate a culture where you can go to a one-stop shop and be able to get the information you want or learn about new information, new foods, and so forth. But it will be a hub. It's the hub on a Wix site, and so it's being currently built at this present time. All right. So that's exactly what I wanted to end with. So I just want you to know that's the next step. So look forward to that. It comes with a referral system as well. You want to be on the site, that's the only time you would pay. And of course, it would be a recurring payment because of management of the site. Other than that, it's going to be a great place to be able to share all the networking that we have amongst ourselves to help it go for the future in a productive manner. All right, so stay uplifted. It is June 20th now, 2020, and exactly 2 o'clock. I actually want to take a picture of that. Oh my goodness, how neat is this? All right, thank you so very much for tuning in. And I want to make sure I make it through the whole time. So it'll say 2:01 by the time I leave the site here. So I'm going to just stop sharing and it says 2:01. Once again, thank you so very much. Go to work.